Emissions of greenhouse gases need to peak within the next 3 years if we're to stave off the worst effects of climate change. And even then, we'd still need new technology to suck carbon dioxide out of the skies by the middle of the century.
Hey seekers, according to United Nations Climate Change Report, at the end of the century, the world temperature goes up to plus 3.7 degrees Celsius, and it is a way more worrying issue. It is a lot more concerning issue as we see its impact on over the world. But the main question arises here is that what is global warming and what are the countries around the world are taking steps against it? So, the short answer is global warming is nothing but rising the temperature of Earth's surface, due to which there are drastic changes in the world's climate. And the main reason behind the increasing temperature is that burning of fossil fuels and trapping of greenhouse gases like carbon dioxide, chlorofluorocarbon, and methane. But it is not that easy, as we observe Earth's surface from the pre-industrial period between 1850s and 90s. The Earth temperature shows a huge up due to various human activities. So, yes, with increasing temperature, there is a big change in Earth's climate, as according to the National Resource Defense Council report, there are huge effects of global warming. Firstly, more frequent and severe weathers like storms, floods, droughts, and wildfires. Higher death rates like heat exhaustions, heat strokes, cardiovascular and kidney diseases. Dirtier air in way of pollution from cars, factories, and other sources react to sun and heat. Higher wildlife extinction rates, such as according to IPCC, Intergovernmental Panel on Climate Change, risk of species extinction increases steeply with the rise in global temperature. Animals with backbones like fish, birds, mammals, amphibians, and reptiles. Also, flowering plants are also disappearing more than 100 times faster than the natural rate of extinction due to human driven climate change. Also, pollution and deforestation.
More than a dozen people have died in India, and it's due to a severe heat wave. Experts blame high temperatures driven by climate change.
Okay, it's all about global warming. But what the countries around the world and what especially United Nations doing about it? So, under the United Nations, there is COP, that is Conference of Parties, is a decision-making body responsible for monitoring and reviewing the implementation of the UNFCCC, that is United Nations Framework Convention on Climate Change. In short, COP serve as meeting of 197 countries around the world to deal with climate change and to negotiate the Kyoto Protocol. The Kyoto Protocol is like an operation under UNFCCC to limit and reduce greenhouse gases emissions in accordance with agreed individual targets. Firstly, under Paris Agreement of COP21 2015, countries committed to bring forward national plans setting out how much they would reduce their emissions, known as nationally determined contribution. Countries agreed that every 5 years they would come back with an updated plan that would reflect their highest possible ambition at that time. So, coming back to the main point, what is COP26 and what are their goals? Firstly, to secure global net zero by mid-century and keep 1.5 degree within reach. Secondly, to adopt and protect communities and natural habitats by protecting and restoring ecosystem, building defenses, warning systems, and resilient infrastructures and agricultural to avoid loss of homes, livelihoods, and even lives. Thirdly, mobilize finances to achieve first two goals, developed countries and international finances institutions have to raise funds or provide financial support to poor countries. That's how to secure global net zero emission of carbon. And lastly, work together to deliver for better future, for better lifestyle, and to face challenges of climate crisis itself. Prime Minister Narendra Modi also declared Panchamrit to tackle climate change in COP26. Firstly, by 2030, non-fossil fuel generation to increase by 500 gigawatts. Secondly, by 2030, India will increase 50% renewable energy. Thirdly, carbon emission to be reduced by 1 billion ton. Fourth, 45% reduction in carbon intensity. And lastly, the net emission zero by 2070. Out of that, net zero carbon emission by 2070. Is that a big goal to tackle? But the question arises here, is it really possible to achieve net zero carbon emission by 2070? As some countries has already set goals by 2050. But here, firstly, we have to know what does it really mean by net zero carbon emission. It simply means there is a balance between amount of greenhouse gases produced and the amount of removed from the atmosphere. We reach net zero when the amount we add is no more than the amount we taken away. Is like net zero is like carbon neutral. So, is it possible? The first way is by stopping all types of greenhouse gases emission, which isn't realistically possible as we see different needs of people across all sectors of our lives and industry. So, the best way is to reduce them and create a balance. But before that, as India has taken any steps apart from United Nations to tackle climate change? So, the answer is yes. India is already on the way to National Action Plan on Climate Change. Here on the screen, we are showing 8 national missions on which India is already working on to change or to prevent climate crisis. We like to discuss how we can tackle climate change, global warming. Here are some methods. Phase out coal plant. We have to turn towards less carbon emission energy. Invest in clean energy and efficiency. Shift to electric vehicles. Increase public transport, biking and walking. Eat more plant, less meat. Halt deforestation and restore degraded land. Reduce food loss and waste to improve agricultural practices. We have to decarbonize aviation and shipping. We also have to decarbonize cement, steel and plastic. We have also to retrofit and decarbonize buildings. So, the last but not the least, every country through their action plans, national programs, different policies, and also with the help of United Nations, different organizations, the world is taking steps to prevent climate crisis, controlling global temperature. But it is the responsibility of every individual to act like a responsible human being, as a small step of everyone can make Earth more habitable, more clean, more healthy. So seekers, that's all from my side. Hope you liked the video. Please share and subscribe the channel and let me know in the comment that how you think about this issue.